So we need to talk about Avengers Endgame. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Quam Teasy with the Christocrats and the Red Pill Reality. And one of the things that we want to do on here more is we want to comment and talk about pop culture, things that are going on. Not everything is always so doom and gloom and bad and bad. No, we do enjoy life and we enjoy doing things. And one of the things that I like to do a lot is go to the movies. I don't get to do it a whole lot, but I like to go to the movies, especially blockbusters. And I would say this is probably the only thing that one of the only things that I'm pretty OCD about. Like, I gotta get to the movie theater early. I gotta make sure that I get a good seat. I'm not trying to sit all the way in the front or all the way in the back. And if I'm in the movies, do not talk to me, especially if I haven't seen the movie yet. If I've seen the movie, I don't really care. But if I haven't seen it yet and you're talking to me, I'm gonna get mad. I don't really have to have all the popcorn and all that because it costs like $475 to get small popcorn and a small drink. But let's talk about it. So we got Avengers Endgame. Now, I'm a kid that was born in the 70s and I grew up on Marvel Comics and seen all the Avengers movies. Seen all the Marvel movies except for Doctor Strange, because that's, to me, it's kind of weird. But I've seen all the other movies. I loved every one of them, right? Some of them were better than others, but I loved every one of them. And when I went to see, just like everybody else, the Avengers Infinity Wars, like, I knew kind of what was going to happen because of the comics, but at the end of the movie, I was literally like, what? Spider-Man, no. All of them just, floated away, but couldn't wait to see the culmination of all the movies in Avengers Endgame. Now, this front part of what we're talking about is not going to have any spoilers if you haven't seen it, but I will give you a point in time to cut off the video and go see the movie afterwards, because we're going to talk spoilers in a little bit. So, all the you know what's gone on up until this point in Infinity Wars. They've been fighting Thanos, the most formidable enemy they've ever faced, and this dude is like a monster. There's some holes there too, because Hulk couldn't even beat him without the stones, so how could anybody beat him with the stones? It was just crazy to me. And so they, a lot of the main characters floated away in ash dust. Black Panther, who else? Like a lot of people. What's his name? The Winter Soldier dude. Homegirl that does like this all the time with the fire. Spider-Man. Almost all of the Guardians of the Galaxy people died. Tons and tons of people. Nick Fury. So it's like, man, these people. What's left? And so. This movie, the new one, Avengers Endgame, was really good in a lot of factors. And just so you know, it was 3 hours long, or more. It felt like it was more than 3 hours long, but the way that the movie was done was you didn't really notice that it was that long, because the storytelling that had to be told was essential. And they wanted to do all the characters justice. And they did, because they know that people are invested in this movie franchise, and they wanted to make sure that people got their money's worth. And I think they did a really good job at doing that. There weren't any political messages that, a lot of times Hollywood will throw in. There weren't any kind of, that I could see, any kind of like liberal, ideologies that they try to mask in there. It just was good, popcorn chewing, fun, and there was a lot of good character. You cared about a lot of these characters. And I was wondering how they were going to split up screen time with all these crazy characters: Hulk, Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, Guardians of the Galaxy, all of those characters. How are they going to split up screen time? And I think they did a pretty good job at doing that. You see the conflicts that they have without spoiling some of the content before you click out. But you see, see some of the conflicts, you see how they get resolved, and it's very satisfying. You don't leave the theater going, man, I know they need to make just one more. You leave the theater going, wow, that was really good. So I definitely would recommend it for Christians and their parents and their kids. Take your kids to see it. It is a long movie, so make sure that they use the bathroom before you go. I wouldn't take anybody under, use your common sense, any under 5 or 6. But it's a great movie, and I don't have no issues with it. So I'm going to talk spoilers right now in a second. So you go ahead and click off right now and go see the movie and then come back. Spoilers gone. Hello, you ready? 3, 2, 1. All right, good. So you're still here. So the crazy thing about this movie, to me, was again how they allowed everybody to get their screen time, a good amount of screen time, and how they wrapped everybody's stories up and set others up for new stories, because we know that Black Panther has other movies in the works. I'm sure Doctor Strange has another movie coming out, some other things, obviously Spider-Man. And so what they did was really clever. They made the conflict real, because the movie starts off right after the thing happens, and the remaining Avengers, Thor and Iron Man and Black Widow and some of those people, they figure out where Thanos is, and they go and they kill him, which is useless. It seems like a hollow victory, because what he did is already done, and he can't reverse it, because it was crazy to see that he destroyed, or supposedly he destroyed the 6 Infinity Stones. So there was no way to get it. So that already gets you involved. Like I was thinking to myself, they're destroyed. So what are they going to do? Like I knew they were going to go back into the past, but they're already destroyed. So I said, okay, well, I wonder what they're going to do. But I figure they're going to go in the past and they're going to stop it from happening in the beginning. So that's kind of what they do. You see Tony Stark, who has always been the optimist. Well, not the optimist, who's always been like the one that says, oh, the go-getter, the one that we'll be able to do it. Let's do it. Pragmatist, but he would be the one that would say that we can do it. You see how broken and how defeated he is. He feels responsible for the defeat, and he's a really frail Tony Stark. He's not confident. He's not cocky. All the cockiness is gone. That was real interesting to see, because that character, you're not used to seeing that weak and that real and that human, and he was in those moments. And then it skips, as you know, it skips 5 years later, and it shows what these Avengers, the left Avengers, that were trying to do to pick up the pieces of their life. What was crazy was that it took a few things to try to convince Tony Stark. They started to figure out what they could possibly do by going in the past and changing the past. And they went they go to find Tony Stark, and they find him on the farm with Pepper and their child, right? Which is funny, which is one kind of weird thing to me. That girl who played the child was way older than 5 years old. She was like 7 or 8. But anyway, that's a little nitpick. And it took a minute. It took them trying to convince him, because he was like, I don't want to lose what I got. I got too much is at stake here, which is very understandable. And then you have Clint Barton, who's the Arrow dude. I forget his name. Hawkeye. You see him, how he deals with it, because he loses his whole family. And by the way, which is interesting, it was great how they opened the movie where he was there, because he wasn't in Infinity Wars. And he was hanging out with his family during that, not knowing what the heck is going on, and they all disappeared. And then you see how he deals with it by he's going and being a mercenary and killing all these gang lords and whatnot, and being merciless with it. And then he gets roped into this fight. What was real interesting to me was seeing Hulk and Bruce Banner put together. That was pretty cool, because sometimes I get tired of just the Hulk smash, and it was good to see a big character with some brains, as it kind of follow the comics. As you know, the big fight scene at the end is everything leads up to this big fight scene, and you see them start to kind of win. And one of the parts where I was just like real excited was when Captain America started fighting Thanos by himself, and he was able to get the hammer, Thor's hammer, and he was getting it, bow, boom, bow. And then all of a sudden he starts losing because Thanos is super strong. He's got that big old weird chin, and he's super strong. And he starts breaking the Captain America's shield, and it's kind of symbolic to show that, you know, even Captain America couldn't do it on his own. And then, you know, just about when you're thinking, well, how is this going to happen? There's no way they can beat him. Oh, because by the way, you know, you remember Thanos somehow finds out. Now, the thing that was confusing to me, y'all tell me if it was confusing to you, was like through his other mechanical robot / cyborg daughter, I forget her name, her future self somehow shared her brainwaves with her past self, and that's how Thanos was able to figure out what they were doing. And then he finds where they're at, and he gets this big old fight, big old battle, and it looks like our heroes are going to lose. And then now, previous to that, they've already snapped their fingers to bring them all back, right? And they don't see like nothing really. As soon as Hulk snaps his fingers, then all hell breaks loose, right? The whole place is torn to bits. It's like a big, you know, big Armageddon. And then at the last minute, everybody comes back, and it was so dope. Like everybody, Black Panther and the whole, Wakanda. Everybody in Wakanda came to help, to fight. And, you know, everybody came back except for those who were killed before Thanos snapped his fingers. And so this, you know, huge fight comes. Captain Marvel. Let's talk about Captain Marvel, by the way. So Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, who, you know, I thought they were going to make it to where, like, you know, this feminist thing where, you know, women, or the woman saves the day and the men couldn't do it, so the women saved the day kind of thing. And they didn't do that. So Carol Danvers, or Captain Marvel, comes in, and she is very powerful, and they kind of tie up a loose end by letting her, you know, having her tell them that, you know, where's she been this whole time, and she was out there like fighting on other planets and blah, blah, blah. So she comes in and she helps out, and she is very strong, which is awesome. And then they really had a really cool scene, a really good scene where all the women characters, you know, got it on. Like they all came and were all in the line and ran at the enemy. And it was a pretty powerful scene. It was pretty cool. But they didn't do it in a way to diminish the men either. So that was good. It was like they did it together. And then obviously Tony Stark gives his life up because he had to put it on his hand, and his last line was, "I am Iron Man," and he snaps his finger, and, you know, it takes him out and it kills him. So there was at least another 15 minutes of movie after he died, you know, and so that last 15 minutes was very good. At first I thought, well, this is going to be like the Lord of the Rings when they had the unnecessary minutes after that, but they didn't, because it was there to tie up the loose ends, and it really was very satisfying to see, well, Tony Stark, like a lot of the original Avengers who are now not going to be in the new movies, you know, there was a nice bow. You know, Tony Stark, he died, and he didn't come back or anything like that. He died. You know, you had Thor, who was pretty comic relief and pretty funny throughout. He decides he doesn't want to be Thor anymore to that point. Then you got Black Widow, who died, who gave herself up. You know, Clint Barton, who was one of the original Avengers, he went back to his family. You could tell he put his bow down and went back to his family. And then you had who else? Who else am I missing? The Hulk didn't really kind of like close it out as far as what he was going to do. But the main one that was very good for the heart was to see Captain America. Captain America goes back in time to return the Infinity Stones, and he comes back like they try to bring him back 5 seconds later, and he doesn't come back. But they turn, and I don't know how this happened, but they turn and they see this old man sitting on a bench, and it's an old Captain America, and he decided to go ahead and live his life and be with the woman that he loved and grow old, which was good because Captain America was all about sacrificing for America, being the good soldier and putting people before himself. And he did that his whole life as a superhero. But then he decided to go ahead and get love for himself, and which was awesome to see him do that. And he grew old, and he passed the baton to Falcon, the Falcon character. So there may be other movies for the Falcon character coming up. So all in all, it was really good. It was long. It was satisfying. It was like eating a good sandwich. The action was awesome in it, especially the part where Captain America was fighting Thanos. Any negatives? I don't really see that many negatives. I think that certain characters could have gotten a little bit more screen time. I don't see why Black Widow had to sacrifice herself to get that. They could have figured some other way to get that other Infinity Stone, but you know, I don't know how that happened. I don't think they maybe found another way out to do that, but she sacrificed herself. And you know, we didn't see as much of Star-Lord as we could have. Gamora went missing, so we know there's going to be other Guardians of the Galaxy movies coming up. She went missing at the end. And overall, it was pretty good. I would give it a 9 out of 10. There wasn't really any cursing that I could think of. It's safe for your kids. There wasn't any kind of liberal ideology that would get in there. It was just a good time. So I would recommend it. Go see it. If you can get tickets, well, now it should be dying down. It's broken all the records, and it's making the money like they said they would. So Avengers Endgame gets a thumbs up from me and the Christocrat Nation. Remember, love God, hate sin. Like, subscribe, and share these videos. We're not left, we're not right, but we're up.